Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 72 of the Not Joanna Eggs podcast. This week, Robbie and I are reviewing The Napping Princess, the 2017 anime film directed by Kenji Kamiyama. To say that this turns into a rage cast is an understatement, but I think it's a pretty fun one, so I really hope you guys dig this. All right, thanks again for listening, and take care. Bye.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Not Joanna Eggs. I'm Robbie.
And I'm Tracy.
And this week we are talking about the very strange, poorly dovetailed film, Napping Princess. I shouldn't shit on it right away, but
No, the dubbing is dog shit. I think we can go ahead and
I'm not talking about the dubbing. I'm not talking about the technical aspect of dubbing. I'm talking about the writing, the dovetailing of the two aspects of the story.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
That is just real fucking baggy. All right, so
we got some heavy notes going on here.
I got some thoughts, all right?
I got some hot takes for you.
Yes,
so strap in, y'all.
Spicy ideas. All right, so Napping Princess is... Well, Tracy, do you want to do a very brief summary? Because I feel that...
I didn't even know the best way to go about doing that. Like,
All right,
okay, yeah, sure. I'll sum it up. That's fine. So,
see.
So Napping Princess, also known as Napping Princess: The Story of the Unknown Me, is a 2017 anime film from Japan. It was directed by what's his face?
Kenji Kamiyama.
Yeah, Kenji Kamiyama. I think wasn't it related to the same person that did Girl Who Leapt Through Time? Like, I know that this director's done other stuff before, but I don't know if that's the same thing. Let's see. No, I'm sorry. He worked on Last Vampire Jinro. Oh, well, apparently he used to be a background artist for Akira and Kiki's Delivery Service, which is neat.
Yeah, so he's done...
I don't think he should have directed a film, but...
I mean, he also worked on the screenplay. Okay, there we go.
I wonder
how
that's related.
All right. So, let's summarize this thing to the best of our ability.
Okay.
So, Napping Princess: The Story of the Unknown Me is one of these weird doubling narratives. I can't remember. I feel like we've talked about one of these in the past year or so. So there's two sort of narratives going on that sort of dovetail pretty swiftly. The story of Ancient Heart.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or, I just know her as Princess Ancient.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
But her name is Heart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure, which is all right. Fine.
The actual character's name is Kokone, which means winged heart, I guess. I'm just like, okay, fine.
So Japanese names are weird because you can write them different ways.
Yeah.
So it's using the characters for wing and heart.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the name means winged heart, but that's how it is written.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's... So, anywho, when she dreams, she becomes Ancient Heart and occupies Heartland, where, I'll be honest, I don't understand. Everyone has to drive a car. Everyone works for Henry Ford, the Japanese man.
Pretty much. Like, I mean, I don't understand what this universe is supposed to be. Like, they make cars so that they can keep buying cars. Like, if this is supposed to be some kind of thinly, in quotation marks, veiled metaphor for consumerism or whatever, fine, fucking okay.
I don't know.
I don't know,
man.
There's so many, like, crappy messages in this. And by crappy, I mean they're not conveyed well at all and they don't make sense.
Yes. So you have this sort of weird thing going on. It's this weird, awful society where everyone works for the king who makes cars, and they have to, like, buy new cars because otherwise, I don't know.
Isn't that bizarre that this is supposed to be this girl's fantasy land and it's this totalitarian, awful place that she directly benefits from?
Well, so it's not so much her fantasy land. Because remember, she's also, like, exiled, and as we find... Not exiled, but, like...
But she's still supposed to be a
princess. She's locked away.
Like,
she's isolated.
Yeah,
but she has no access to the world itself. She's not allowed to interact with the world, which is weird. And it's also, like, a story that her father told her, so it's, like... It's doing a lot of strange shit.
They're trying to, like, put way too many things in this movie.
I think there's just too much
like, here, tell you what, let's just go ahead and simplify it even further than that. Basically, it starts off with this girl, like, telling a story or like, dreaming about these stories about this girl that lives in this kingdom called Heartland, where it's, like, run by cars and everything. In the real world, she's, like, roughly a 17-year-old schoolgirl named Kokone Morikawa. I guess she's relatively imaginative or something. She lives with her father, who's a mechanic who gets paid in fucking food. Like, I've got a lot of, like, notes on this.
I did not realize you hated this movie so much. You're just, like, going in.
I could gradually feel myself starting to just get really angry. I don't know what exactly it was, but, like, there's just a certain point where I was just like,
Oh, I'll tell you
Fuck, man, like...
I can tell you the exact point where this movie lost me.
Oh, really? Go ahead.
Exact point. All right, so this movie, BT Dubs, is 111 minutes. It's almost 2 fucking hours long.
You have no business being this long movie. Do you know what I'm talking about now when I say that they could have shaved 50 minutes off this goddamn thing?
Easily.
It has no business being nearly 2 hours.
No, there's so much bullshit. What pissed me off was
I'm glad that we both got a lot of ire going on right now. We're gonna try to tone it down, but it's gonna come out later. I'm sorry.
Here's the problem.
This is your warning, folks.
We're gonna get ornery. We're already ornery. We're at like a 6 or a 7. It's going to 10. It might break 10. Yeah. So in the last half hour of this thing, you meet the real life analog to the king. Right? Yeah. And then suddenly it shifts and everything is in the dream world. But there's not a clear distinction, and some things don't have an analog, which is a pain in the dick. Like, I don't know, but
it seems like it's attempting to be similar to Paprika with this idea of mixing together like narratives and dreams.
Yes.
But the problem is that the execution does not make sense. The characters are not as memorable or likable, and there aren't analogs to everything else within the world, which is like that you have. Okay, in order to be able to do a consistent dream metaphor, you need to have consistency between your characters and between the settings. It worked in Song of the Sea, it worked in Spirited Away, and it worked in Alice in Wonderland. It does not work in this movie because there are some things that they try to explain and then other things that they don't, and it's just like it's so clunky and it doesn't make sense. It really
is, and it comes to a head at that last half hour because you have the King of Heartland / Kokone's grandfather go, I have to face the Colossus. Like, there's a sudden shift, and then suddenly, like, we're back in Heartland, shit's getting weird, and, like...
When he said that line, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Right. Well, and so my problem there is I'm like, oh, okay, we are getting to the finale. And then I clicked pause because I had to do something. I was like, there's another half hour.
I did the exact same thing, Robbie.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I kept pausing it because Kent was playing Fallout New Vegas while I was watching this on my phone, and I'm just like, God damn it, this movie's taking forever.
Like, I was okay with the slow pacing up to that point, right? That's the point where I lost it. And like, in the middle of that whole, like, so what killed that, I hated that. And then
I did too. I was so angry. If you were sitting next to me, I would have been like, what is this?
This would have been very akin to like you and me watching like the Emoji Movie or something.
Oh
just
my
like,
God.
What are we watching? What is this?
Like,
I mean, it's not that bad.
Let us never speak of the Emoji Movie again. But
I'm sorry,
this was offensive on a different level than the Emoji Movie, but it was is equally frustrating because you know that there are a lot of really talented people that work on shit like this. And I'm not trying to bring up Redline again. I swear to God that I'm not. But just fucking.
But I think that there are some good, like, interesting nuggets in this that, again, it just could have been streamlined, right? So here's the larger sort of thing. In the real world, the plot is that Kokone's mother was developing a self-driving car, because this takes place literally in 2020, so it's near future.
It's just supposed to be before the Neo Tokyo Olympics.
Right, the 2020 Tokyo, We're not there yet.
We're close, thanks, but we're not quite there.
Akira has Neo Tokyo,
I mean,
right?
They're slightly more optimistic in this movie than Akira was about the Tokyo Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
But
anywho, so she was developing an AI.
Yeah, her mother, who is no longer with them, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
She meets her father, and the movie sort of loosely implies that he's just like some dude who works for the car company that her father owns, and her father
just
is
like a ship on mechanic or something. I don't know.
Yeah, right. And her father's like, well, I don't approve of this. I don't approve of the things that you're doing here. So, fuck off. And so he basically tells her and her husband, I don't want to see either of you ever again. And so they don't. And then somewhere in that, from still vague. I don't know how she died. I still don't fucking understand. That pissed me off.
They never actually show it, do they? I don't think that they do.
So here's what they do. They kill her in the dream world. But again, she gets swallowed by the Colossus that does not have a real world analog.
No, it doesn't.
So what killed her? Did she get hit by a car? Was there an assassin? Like, I don't know.
We'll get into the fact that so this is another plot point. So we're really jumping around, but we've got a lot of very mixed feelings about this film.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's like basically the basic premise is that there's this like dream world and this real world thing that happens to be coinciding with the Tokyo Olympics. The idea behind it is that Kakone's father had apparently stolen the schematics or the details for this self-driving car thing.
Steal it, right? Him and his wife left with it.
Yeah.
And then after she died...
On a tablet. That's important, by the way.
Yes, the tablet, which is like the fucking MacGuffin of the film.
It's like Chekhov's gun. Like, they have to have it play off in some way. Like, I don't... Okay.
It's just always there.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
So she dies. They have this self-driving car thing going on. In both worlds, there is the very obvious evil man who is like trying to undercut the king, or in the real world, he's trying to become the new CEO or some horse shit.
They make him like the most transparently evil person in the movie. Like, okay, so all right, listener, I want you to go ahead and just visualize the idea of a creepy, weird dude that, like what a child would imagine to be like a stranger danger kind of thing. Put him in a black suit.
And don't forget facial hair.
No, oh my God.
Always
I assumed that he was supposed to be Hans Gruber because he looks exactly like him.
I mean, you're not wrong.
So much so. But like the thing that gets to me is that like she has this picture of her parents when they were young, right? And then it's like kind of like that scene in like Coco where like she like, Miguel unfolds it slightly and sees more to the picture. It's like she sees the same thing in the picture, and it's literally this fucking guy with like creeper claw hands, like you draw your hands in slightly to make them look like claws. It is so shitty.
Oh my God.
I laughed out loud when I saw that. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
I had to show it to my roommate. I'm like, this guy's so transparently obviously evil. It's not even funny.
I wonder if he's the villain.
Are you surprised by my evil intention? I bet you are. Not.
It's so dumb.
It's horrible.
But yeah, so like basically he was the guy that I guess was I don't know if he was sent by the motor company. Like I guess he's a spy working for this motor company that allegedly they stole the plans from, but I don't know.
Yeah, this is the other thing, right? The inciting incident of this movie, we don't know how we get there.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, wait. Actually, I have to make this link because the movie doesn't.
Please do.
I've got it.
Please do.
At the beginning
do
of the
the work
movie,
that the movie should have done.
Right. Well, so it's there. It's present. It's not explicit, which is a problem in some ways. You have to do the back work yourself. Early in the movie, Momotaro, her father, fixes a man's truck early in the movie, and that truck can drive itself. And so my guess is that the cops caught him not driving his car because the car was driving itself. But the movie doesn't even give us half a second of that scene, right? We just have to infer that that's what happened.
Like, the dad makes a joke about that, but we never actually see him getting arrested or anything
right.
Like that.
What I'm saying is, like, I understand, like, the sort of, like, read between the lines, but, like, that old man appears and then disappears, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, like, poor writing. We should have that appear so that we fully understand why suddenly at his wife's grave do these fucking guys show up to arrest him. Where's that coming from?
Yeah.
But it's not even hinted. They just go straight to, oh, you stole this technology. It's like, okay, but like, where is the proof of that?
This entire movie is like, it's one of the most glaring exceptions I can think of tell, don't show, which really bothers me. Because like, okay, granted, that kind of stuff can happen in anime films. Even like just in general, there are so many things that they ask the audience to infer, which is like a really unnecessary amount, by the way. Because they just keep skipping over stuff and having everyone explain stuff immediately after the fact. And I can't keep track of it. Like, I had to keep going back through the story on, like, Wikipedia to figure out what the fuck was happening.
To me, one of the problems is, like, they do show some things rather than tell.
But not enough.
But those things are probably things that they could have just some environmental storytelling type of stuff, right? Like the Tokyo Olympics, right? As she's going about her mourning, we find that
Honestly, I kept forgetting about that because they never really harkened back to it that much.
So it's like a minor plot point, honestly.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that the way they introduced it is fairly natural without being like sort of weird and like, oh, hey, are you excited for the 2020 Olympics? No, man. Like, right. Because it does come up again later.
It's not this big glaring thing like in an extremely goofy movie where they keep talking about the X Games and they show the X Games at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like that. It just kind of seems like they sort of forgot about it and they're like, oh, nope, I guess this is an espionage thing now.
Yeah, right. So, starting this movie, I was intrigued when the princess falls asleep and then wakes up and says, "Girl Kokone," right?
Yeah.
Interested.
Oh,
Hooked.
that was cute. Yeah.
And then you've got this interest, and then you're building this interesting relationship between father and daughter that will be explored throughout the movie. Wrong. Wrong. Not at all. Not a thing.
If anything, he doesn't show up for a while until he's interrogated, and then they don't even... Do they even see each other at the end of the movie?
They do. But they're like, they're kind of in and out, right? So
Yeah.
it just, it just is so, like, on the one hand, like, oh, hey, you subverted my expectations, but boy, howdy, did you just shit the bed along the way.
It's so true.
It's just like a train wreck.
It's really unfortunate, too, because the art is very, very pretty. Like, the animation style is fun. I was a little weirded out by her tiny cat mouth, which was kind of strange to me.
I loved it design-wise, right?
I mean, parts of it I was okay with, but I don't know.
For me, basically everything in Heartland looked really cool.
Yeah,
right? Like
it was cute.
That
Even
was
though they had Avas, which I thought was a little weird.
Not quite, but similar.
Yeah, it seemed like a kind of similar thing. It was more like that combined with Pacific Rim, because they had like guys actually physically powering the legs to move.
15 people to make that thing work, and it's like, there has to be a better way.
Well, no, you would think so, because in Heartland, if they make like auto manufacturing, why in the fuck wouldn't they have machinery in there?
But
like, how could
remember that
people be any more efficient than motors are?
Yeah, but remember, the king does not like automatons, because that's like why that the princess gets imprisoned, is because she's like, look, I can automate the factories and our people don't have to spend all their time working and commute from like 5 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Dad, I'm helping you modernize.
I'm helping you modernize, Dad. It's 2000, for the love of God.
They can only work 4 hours because the commute takes them so long. Like, it's so convoluted. It's like, maybe, like,
so dumb.
I think he's
so
less
bad.
of a king and more of a dictator. He just won't leave until he dies.
He certainly kind of is, right? God damn it. God damn it.
This movie, it had some interesting ideas, but my God, it just insists on convoluting the plot so much to the point that the audience just doesn't give a shit. I can't keep track of most of it.
My thing is, right, like, it drops these ideas that could be interesting, right? Like, there's like this super oppressive society in which, like, you have to buy the newest car because you have to, because it's the law. And you spend like half your time commuting and the other half working, and then you sleep for 5 minutes. And then there's a princess who wants to like revolutionize. You could have like a really interesting, cool, like revolution arc there. No, there's like a giant monster that's being controlled by like the king's bro who's a fucking douche.
If you want to see that plot line, just watch Metropolis or Modern Times. They do it better and they do it faster.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the plot I would have wanted out of this film, and I think could have been a lot cleaner. But again, like, it's trading in for these weird moments of Morio and Kokone have an adventure in the dream world together, and it's like kind of cute, and that's about it. Nothing happens.
Yeah, because like one of the concepts that I thought was like a little hokey and mostly just reminded me of Shelter by Porter Robinson and Medion was the whole thing with, no, I mean, like, did you get that too? Because like the whole idea of having like, well, basically in the Heartland world, like the fantasy world, Anshin, the princess, can use this tablet to like manifest certain things. Like it basically just grants her wishes. Like I thought that was a weird fucking plot point that like she would like put messages into what's essentially a bootleg version of Discord to get certain things to be manifested. So she'd be like, I want a bento box, I want train tickets, like all this stuff.
Okay, well, so that was really funny when it happened in
the
real
that
world,
bit was
right?
okay. Like that bit was kind of funny.
Funny.
And she's like, oh my God, magic is working here. It's like, no, it's just because they're trying to get you there so they can arrest you. Like, so they're just working within her demands.
Well, that's what I
basically.
thought, but also like it actually wasn't that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Anywho, it's just, like I was honestly so excited, and then it's just like, nah.
It just. Yeah,
because again, like I think that
I'm just disappointed with like them not just committing to certain ideas. Like they try to have so many different things. I'm like, guys, sometimes less is more. Where like if you can't succinctly define what the plot of the movie is, if you're gonna have these weird kind of like twists and turns and shit, you might need to revamp your story a little bit. Because like I'm just saying that like in something like Spirited Away, Chihiro is taken to a magical world where she has to help her parents to retransform them by working in a bathhouse. Like, it's sufficient enough. Like, you can have, like, some certain things, like details in the story that make it more interesting, but if the audience can't feasibly follow the plot that quickly, especially in a 2-hour movie, which fuck you movie, by the way, for being this long, you're going to lose your audience and you're not going to want them to be invested and see what happens to the characters.
Right. So can we just talk for a second about the last half hour again?
Yeah,
okay,
we can.
So here's
absolutely we can.
So again, I got to this point where you're like, oh, we're launching into the finale.
Yeah.
Cool. There's a half hour left. Not cool. They fight the big monster. But the guy uploaded a virus and suddenly, like, everything is burning. And I was like, okay, but then, like...
I didn't even realize that's how it was burning. Like, because, like, I looked
That's
down
what
for,
it
like,
was.
2
It was
seconds, and I'm like, wait, why is the city burning now?
Yeah, so he, like, activates a virus that when the Colossus explodes, it turns into a bunch of bats that light everything on fire.
That was so
BT.
stupid. Like,
It was
why is
awful.
everything bats now? Like, normally
All
I'm
of the
very happy to see bats in general, but in this case, I'm like, why is he filled with bats?
Yes.
It's so
So
dumb.
in that, what's dumb is when the villain gets hit by a bat, he burns in green fire and fart sounds.
Yeah.
That was rough.
That was
What's
real
even
stupid.
stupider, after they activate the robot's superpowers and it can fly apparently into fucking space.
No, yeah, I was just like starting to think of shooting stars at that point, like.
Well, so it gets up in the air and then he's like slowly coming down, and I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to do anymore.
No, yeah, I was
I'll be
like,
honest,
is this supposed to be some kind of sacrifice thing? Because no one cares.
Yeah, like all it did was serve to put Kakone in real world danger.
Because the stakes weren't high enough with the city's already on fucking fire.
Right,
Apparently.
suddenly add some stakes that I don't know. And like, again, because the whole like dream world fucking real world parallel is really baggy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like, okay, so like she was on the thing and then she fell asleep, and did she sleepwalk her way to this parapet of the 30th floor? Did someone care? Like, I just don't understand, right? Because it's so sort of like not clear.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense, like, in a thing like Paprika, where, like, you remember the scene where she's at the amusement park and there are some real-world parallels where, like, she goes in between certain locations, but the movements make sense because when she's Paprika, she still goes through those certain motions and areas, and then when she wakes up as Dr. Chiba again, then she realizes that she's on the balcony and then she gets pulled back. Right?
Yes.
Like, that makes sense because, like, we actually see her exploring the space and everything, but we don't get any of that with this. And it just seems really basic, and they just don't do it. Like,
Well,
the consistency between the Heartland world and
Yes.
the real world is essentially non-existent. It's just like she moves there and she's sitting down the entire time, then, like, the opposite. It's really dumb. It's just super
Right.
dumb.
Well, and also, like, so they have this big twist when Kakone dreams and she's not the princess and finds out it's her mother, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like, again, it just doesn't quite fit with what they've previously built in this thing. And now suddenly we have this, and then we see her mother die to the Colossus, which again is what?
When she was going through the actual story things, I'm like, oh, this is clearly just a child's overpowered OC because of course she's going to be great at everything and like kind of a Mary Sue, like whatever. Like she knows how to do everything. She can make leaps with no effort whatsoever. She's totally safe. And I was
12.
like, it made sense for a child because, you know, like children are
Yes.
just like, oh, of course my character's going to be great at this thing. It's like when we're adults, like if you're making an original character, you have to give them some kind of faults that make them more relatable. But I'm just like, there's no reason that we would ever think that was supposed to be her mother. And I was just like, what? Like, what is this?
Yeah, it's just not.
It just made me mad. Like, I just kept watching and I'm just like, that's the thing that bothers me about animation sometimes is that, like, clearly there's a lot of work that goes into them for the most part. And this just seems like a story thing that they should have nailed down to begin with.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, maybe it's just I'm too used to Western stories. I'm not sure. But I've seen more consistency than stuff like this in, like, a really short run anime.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just don't know, man. I guess I'm just disappointed in the movie because, like, I don't know.
No, I mean, I agree.
All
It's
I've
like,
got is sighing sounds. I'm sorry, everyone.
it looks really impressive, and initially it seems like it's gonna do some cool shit, and visually it does, but
Yeah,
it doesn't
of
really
course.
deliver in any other way. I like Kakone because she's a goofball, but like, that's about it.
She's a bit of a dork. Like, I liked her relationship with her male friend.
Morio.
He was
Morio's
fine.
okay.
I mean, like,
I feel like, you know what I thought could have been more interesting, just because I'm always going to be this person, but
Yeah.
what if they had the chick she hangs out with early in the movie be the character that she ends up hanging out with throughout the movie?
that would have been neat because I like that girl too.
Yeah, I know that's like a wild, like, American conceit, but,
Like, just
whatever.
having her do like a thing with her buddy, like, because it's not like, okay, I'll say this, They didn't really try to shoehorn a romance in, which was nice.
Yeah, which I was fully expecting. So, good on it for not doing that.
Yeah, you get a point for that movie, but I don't know.
So
It seemed like her friend had a
lost.
genuine kind of interest in that stuff too. I'm like, why not bring her along? Like she could have her assist in like a side mission or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and I think that would have worked better because her friend is the one who brings up, hey, so like, what about your mom being from Germany? And she's like, I just like made that shit up because I didn't know anything about my mom, right? So that's fun. And then having her friend find out like, oh, this is who your mom is, right? Yeah, I think that could have been more interesting. But again, it wants to do this like boy girl thing for whatever reason without actually pushing them together, which again I'm fine with, but also like, why? Like just that whole scene, right, of them being in the dream world could have been cut out. And again, the movie's a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Ugh, that last half hour.
It just seemed like it played it safe with a lot of certain tropes that seem to be pretty fairly well known in anime. And like, and look, like I get it. Like there are certain things that like it definitely did differently, which were nice. But it's just like there isn't really enough about this movie that makes it very unique or interesting to want to like rewatch it. I will never rewatch this movie.
No, because again, the 2 hour investment's just too much, man.
Yeah,
like,
that was just a dick move. Like
for the pacing of it and for the inability to sort of deliver on some of the promises it makes early on.
If you watch the trailer for this, it's pretty deceptive, honestly, because like it seems like it's trying to like attract the same crowd. I mean, like, standard, whatever. I mean, like, because G-Kids in general, like, they release pretty good media, but honestly, it just depends on, like, the company that's making the movie, just like any other studio. And it just pissed me off because this is clearly catered towards people that really like Ghibli movies or Your Name or any other number of like fantasy, sci-fi inspired anime. And this just isn't it. Like it just doesn't know what it wants to be. And it'd be one thing if it could just kind of like commit to one storyline. Like if it just committed to the idea of just having this girl trying to figure out why she's merging within the dream world as like a way to get closer to her father, that could be interesting enough in itself. Like I think that the entire inclusion of the stealing of the self-driving car thing was like the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, man, I really was like,
I don't understand why the woman's father would be so against self-driving cars. He's like, people like driving their own cars. I'm like, you stupid bastard. This is like because this would have been like, I mean, granted, he would have been a couple of years late of like Tesla and Uber and Google, but still trying. Like it's still new technology right now. If they had a major car manufacturer making that standard on all vehicles, they'd be doing fucking gangbusters.
Right. Well, and so here's the other thing with that. Here's the other sort of thing with that, right? Is like, in fairness to him, I almost guarantee you that whether or not people can drive their cars will be a political issue in our lifetime.
Oh yeah, easily.
Like,
There's no
it's gonna be obnoxious.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be inevitable. It just seemed like that if he was going to be doing it, if he had more of a platform about, like, it's fundamentally unsafe or it's going to be taking away autonomy for things like accidents or it's going to ruin the ideas of doing trucking as an industry, that would be one thing. That would be intriguing. But he just says, like, no, people like driving their cars. It's like, yeah, but the idea is that it's still new technology, and if they're a motor company, they should be trying to modernize.
Incorrect.
Like,
I hate driving a car. I really wish I lived in a world where I didn't need to drive one all the fucking time.
Then you should move to a major city where there's public transit.
Not an option, thank you.
Not yet, but eventually.
Maybe. Remember, I don't get to make choices.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's a conversation for later.
That's an aside.
That's a conversation for later, Robbie and Tracy.
Yes. Future Robbie and Tracy, those jerks.
Those dickbags.
Yes. Anywho, so, Napping Princess, if you just, I don't know, if you want to hurt yourself, if you enjoy bogged down baggy stories, if you enjoy cute anime girls with pronounced lips.
Yeah. Watch Steven Universe.
Perhaps watch this movie, get bored, and turn on something slightly better. Like Redline.
They could have easily tied up this story within 80 to 90 minutes. Easily.
Oh, easy. Easy.
As much as we rag on certain movies, some of them have been, granted, we don't always review great movies. It's just like we need to get surprises like this sometimes because it helps us, reevaluate, like maybe we were too harsh in another movie. But like, no, it's just like there's just some things that, like, number one, if you're going to be writing a movie, the assumption, especially if you're going to be doing it with animation, is just don't do what Illumination does. Don't have crappy story writing. Don't have bad characters. Don't be boring and don't be overlong. If you follow all those criteria, you're just going to make a shitty product. And it's not going to be something that I don't really foresee this being a thing that people will look back on fondly. They'll be like, oh, I remember seeing that in theaters. It was okay. Like, that's going to be their legacy.
It was a thing I saw.
There are so many better things to watch than this. And, like, I don't want to be super negative on it, but I couldn't stand it. I nearly shut it off.
No, it definitely, again, it takes too long, especially there at the end, right? So.
Yeah, it overstays its welcome so much. And, like, it would be one thing if it had more challenging ideas or the story was a little bit tighter or the script was more engaging. But they just yell shit at you constantly. Like, if you're not constantly paying attention to this, you won't know what the fuck's going on.
Oh, yeah, no,
like,
it was
you
rough.
can't be folding laundry or cooking or anything while you do this. You have to watch everything.
Yep.
I don't know. It's just the kind of stuff that just makes movie going not fun. And it just, I don't know. It just bums me out. I've seen some stupid movies, but at least those stupid movies are shorter than this. Just, I don't know. It just made me sad.
Well,
it just made me want to watch something happy after the fact, so I just watched a couple episodes of Dr. Tran, and I felt better.
Wow.
I love Dr. Tran. I don't care.
I know you do.
It's a good time.
It's just old.
It's a very old meme, I know, but cocaine is vitamins for hotel soap.
All right, and I think we're going to call it there.
This is a high and tight 35 minutes.
Hey, man, highest and tightest we've ever done.
Yeah, it's true.
Maybe not highest.
But yeah, I mean, just long story short, I would skip this one, honestly. Like, the trailer's pretty much all you need to see. It's not, I don't know, it's just not great.
Yeah, not super a fan, but
yeah.
You win some, you lose some.
It's true, and I'm sure that they'll go on to like make other like movies and stuff. But this one, I'd skip it, honestly.
Yeah,
just save your time, save your money.
All right, so Tracy, where do they find you online?
Thank you, Robbie. They can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at TCTroush. Robbie, where can they find you?
As always, I am lobster_writer on Twitter and lobster99 on Instagram if you're so inclined.
Neat. And if you guys would be able to leave some reviews or ratings for the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, anywhere you get your podcast, it really does help the show a lot. Yeah. We will read your review on the show as well. I'm actually considering doing a book giveaway because I've got some art books I'd like to see if maybe people might be interested. So actually, should I just go ahead and mention that?
Well, I mean, we can gauge interest. Get at us and let us know if that's something y'all will be interested in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, look, we'll do
thing. So.
Oh, and also you can find us on Tumblr at notjoannaeggs.tumblr.com.
Yes. Thank you so much for listening, and we will talk at you next time.
Hopefully in a more positive light.
God, I hope so.
Well, guys, we got a lot of energy, so,
Yeah.
Sorry. This, sometimes you just get a rage cast.
Yep. Just a rage catch.
Thank you very much for listening, guys. We'll talk at you next time. Bye. Hey guys, thanks again so much for listening. Our intro music is Don't Hold My Breath by Ben Briggs. The outro is Wet Dreams by Phonetic Hero. Both were found on ocremix.org. If you like the show, please subscribe, rate, and review us, or tell a friend to check us out. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Find the show website via notjoannaeggs.tumblr.com. Follow us on Twitter via @lobster_writer and @TCTroush. Not Joanna Eggs, because animation is for everybody.